Okay, from last week, what might be some different types of glands that you learned about? I just remember glands being one of the topics. Now, whether you went into specific type of glands, I don't quite remember. Okay, or is it something about hair? Was it hair instead? Oh, it was hair. All right. So then, okay. So today, it looks, oh, we're starting glands today. Oh, okay. You're talking about feeding then, I bet. Okay. I glanced at the schedule and thought you had talked about glands. Okay. So what's significant about feeding when we look at the class of mammals? Not all of them go through the same process. See, there again, I'm looking at feeding and I'm thinking, oh, jeez. Boy, we're on a roll today, aren't we? Okay. So then, what's the difference between horns and antlers? That I do remember. Which one would you have to chop off? Farmers do it all the time. Antlers? Horns. That's right. Okay, so now this was working. Okay, so this is where you had left off with. Okay, because for some reason I was thinking that we were talking about feeding in here, talking about maybe I'm just, yep, today's Monday. Come on. Okay, one more. There we go. Okay. Now we start with glands, correct? All right. So, do all mammals have eccrine glands? It's a trick question. Do all mammals have these glands? No, they do not. Can you think of, because look at what the function is, okay? What two types of mammals may have a low number in these so they get rid of heat in a different way? And it is something that you probably would find on the family farm. Say that again. Dogs is one. Horses, I'm not quite sure, but possibly, yes. Did I say two? Okay, but there's still one more. Yeah, pigs do that too. The reason we know that is, how do dogs get rid of heat if they can't sweat? That's right. So, of course, their tongue sticks out, and then they're breathing really fast, and then the water will evaporate from inside their mouth, and that's how they cool themselves off. Same thing with pigs. It's actually, they sweat through their nose because they have a low abundance of these eccrine glands. Apocrine glands might be a little different, because if that's different, it must mean they have a different function, which means, yes, they do. I don't, whether this thing's slide presenter is, I just switched batteries in it, it's still not cooperating. I probably am doing that because it's just frustration. Yeah. Well, dang it. Okay. Going back to dogs, they do this. So even large cats do this as well. In other words, what is it that those animals slash mammals will do to mark this is my territory besides past urine? That's one thing that they'll do. But dogs is probably the best example. You have one that rolls around in the grass a lot or rubs up against trees or something to that effect. Okay, these apocrine glands, which they're still called sweat glands. I understand that that can be confusing, but it's still just the idea of what they do, okay? Even though they do not cool the body down, they're still considered being a sweat glands. And then these, okay, go hand in apocrine and scent glands. And what they're doing is as they're rolling around the grass, these apocrine glands are secreting a little bit of oil, and then that leaves the scent behind. Can we smell it? No. No. There's a lot of things that we can't smell that dogs can. Okay. You know, I hit it very gently. Okay, come on now.
Maybe don't be so nice with it. Don't be so mean to it. A little harder than that.
Why is this a problem? I swear this thing has a mind of its own. I just put a new battery in this. We just jumped ahead 3, didn't we? I think this is right. Okay. Who's the type of mammal that have the highest concentration of this? And I think it's just something that Mr. Wagner talked about, but not like he would have mentioned, oh, write this down for future reference. What might be a mammal, okay, well, they're all mammals, that would have this in their hair follicles, okay? In other words, because it's a type of protection, okay, protects the skin and hair. It's not so much whether you consider humans as mammals, whichever, okay? Canines? No. Felines? No. Okay. I was just going to say pinnipeds, but I didn't think that would mean anything to you from 2 years ago. Because Pinnipedia is the order for otters and sea lions. That's right. So repeat back what you were saying. Sorry, I kind of interrupted yourself.
Because it makes them like water.
Right, right. Because where is it that anybody loses more heat? Is it in cold water or cold air? Do you think? Definitely water, okay? And the reason we know that is should be unfortunate enough to fall into a stream of cold water or something to that effect, you get out of there, the very first thing you're going to want to do is get those cold clothes off. You just need to do that because that's holding all that cold water next to the body. It's just going to suck the heat right out of there because that's how heat works. It flows from hot to cold. The reason we know that, that's why things feel cold. If this was a metal table, you put your hand on there, and the reason it feels cold is because the heat is coming out of your hand and it's being transmitted down into the table. Then once you pull your hand up from there, it might feel somewhat a little bit warmer around there because, again, the heat is flowing from your warm hand into the cold table. All right. I did not hold that down. I just... Well, it seems if I'm standing closer to this, it's working just fine. But those batteries, it's a rechargeable battery, so maybe... Okay, so let's see if it goes forward now. It must be the battery. Okay. So one of the things that when it comes to knowing when a cow is going to calf or a sow is going to go into giving birth to their litter, and it is pretty accurate. I mean, yes, you can look at your calendar when you think the two animals were possibly inseminated, and it's important to try to get that time frame down into about a week, especially if you know the weather's going to get cold. You don't want to have your cows giving birth in a cold pasture, and then all of a sudden the next morning hits and they've been exposed to a lot of cold air. Is that fair to? Is that a pretty good presumption for your? You got it marked down into like a 2-week block, maybe. You might not know the answer either. Okay, so then when it gets close to that time frame, it's probably every day and probably every night too, going to check the stock cows to see if they're actually giving birth. I know it's really accurate with pigs. I would think it's fairly accurate with cattle too. When you can go to the sow and squeeze one of their teats, okay, and if milk comes out of there, it's probably within 24 hours that sow is going to give a litter of pigs. It's really that accurate. But what is causing this to happen inside of female mammals? I mean, they just don't start producing milk for any reason. There's something that has to turn that switch on. This is where, again, being in human anatomy and physiology would help you out. So, that side over, it's a specific hormone that turns that switch on. It starts with a P. Not an amateur, but a what? What's the next level past an amateur? You say proline? You can say that's an amino acid if that's what you said. Say what you said a little louder. Well, I said a little louder, not the same tone. With confidence, like, I like Def Leppard, like your shirt says. I mean, you don't, I wear this because I like Def Leppard. Is that what you say? Yeah, because I like this group, Def Leppard. They're a good group. Right? So yes, it's prolactin. Okay. So a good fan could name 2 albums.
No, no. I just wear it for the looks. I don't actually like it.
Hysteria was one of them, I think, and then was one album from Def Leppard, and Pyromania was maybe another one. Okay. Which was kind of concerning that, my gosh, on Saturday afternoon, you can hear the sirens going around Del Rapids, and it was, of course, that town, Baltic, Garrettson, Colton. Did you say? Okay, but they wouldn't come. But my point is, it was even on the news that there was some grass fires that popped up around Del Rapids, and I'm thinking, okay, is this a coincidence? But I think it was reported on Kelloland that downed power lines had sparked some of those fires. Because when we talked about that album, maybe I think it's called Pyromania. What does that mean, Pyromania? They like fires. So, yeah, just enhancing our vocabulary. Yeah, perhaps. Okay. Now we're getting to. Okay. So, I'll write this down. And I gotta. Maybe you don't have to write anything down. Okay, because that's sparse. It's sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So let's see here. When we lost our teeth years ago, is it still put that tooth under your pillow or in a cup in the windowsill, and that tooth is gone in the morning, and what happens? Tooth fairy came and took it. So was there a discrepancy in price between, so the reason, so you've experienced that, that's why you're bringing that up. Did Tooth Fairy give you as much change or money as what your brother gets or receives? Tooth Fairy a little more generous? I was going to make because you had answered, I was going to start on this side and work over. So between Isaac and yourself, okay, and then Caden, is it about the same? Okay. Same with Allie? Okay. You said about the same. Now you can throw your 2 cents in. Well, that's about what I got was 2 cents. It is at your house. Tooth Fairy likes your younger siblings better. Well, but everyone else is laughing at that, right? Maybe except for yourself. And then, let's see here. Okay, now we're back on track here. Okay. So, one of the things I want you to think about, because this is evident within the orders of this class, and this is what you had learned last year and 2 years ago in biology. What other type of animal, what does that tell you about these anteaters? Okay, of course it's in its name. What do they eat? Don't just say ants, say what? So they eat insects, okay? But these are also, I believe, they're not in the order Insectivora. That's moles and shrews are in that order because I believe they're more so of a burrowing animal, and that's why. And then anteaters don't burrow, they walk along the ground, or above ground, I should say. So they're in an order, I believe, called Xanthara. But then what about whales, though? And that's something that you had actually seen this year. Oh, come on, we're going to Sydney. Come back. So where did you observe that? In this magical performance 5 seconds ago. We got nothing? Yeah, right. Finding Nemo. Okay? So what was accurate about that, they're in the whale's mouth. They couldn't escape because whales have not all whales. Maybe we should retract with that. Some majority of whales don't have, they have a modified set of teeth. Remember what they were called? I'm sure it's a vocab term. Starts with a B. Yeah, it's actually called baleen. Okay? All right. Now, so why is it that these animals, okay, would not need teeth? So think of whales first. We associate teeth with one of two functions. One for, of course, chewing and breaking materials down, or two for puncturing and holding on. So that would be canines, and bicuspids do the grasping and grinding of flesh. But whales don't do that. They don't need to chew, because once their food source is in their mouth, okay, then their tongue pushes all that water out of their mouth, okay, and then type of filtering process, because that's what that baleen does. So why would anteaters not have to have teeth? Because when ants really have a tough body, do flies really have a tough body? No, they really don't. So you really just have gums that probably just squish them, okay? And that's not to say that they might have some form of molars that does a grinding and squishing effect that, get that protein. Yep. Okay, I think that's probably a pretty good place to stop. So we'll pick up with that tomorrow. Okay, we'll catch up to you next time.